As I discussed in a previous video I made entitled Roots, Binds, and Jar Spells, there are various ways that a binding spell can be performed. In the previous video I made about binding spells, it was just to give an explanation of what they were and how they could be performed. But today I want to go into the mystery of how they actually work. It's important to note that there is a difference in the degree or the level of binding spells, of magic in general. Hello, beautiful people. It is Oshun Kimi, your sage, your guru, your mystic, and your spiritual informant. If you are interested in mysteries related to magic and spirituality, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so that you can keep up with the mystical and powerful conversations that we have here on this channel, Surviving Witchcraft, with me, your host, Oshun Speaks. There is a higher degree of spell work that many people may not be fully aware of. And this higher degree of spell work is going to involve blood magic, sacrifices, and the spiritual assistance of demons and demonic entities, or the spiritual assistance of graveyard spirits that are literally raised up from the dead and then sent out to a person when the spell is performed. And so, usually, a spell of this type of higher degree is going to involve one, a coven of people, because usually this type of spell work requires more than one person to commit to the cause in order for the spell to be more powerful and in order to summon and conjure the types of spirits and demons that are needed for this level of magic. And the mystery of this type of spell work is what I am going to unveil today for our conversations about how binding spells actually work. There is a difference between simple freezer spells of putting somebody's name in a jar versus someone's name is going into a cauldron along with animal parts and animal sacrifices and multiple people and incantations. There is going to be a difference in the process of breaking these two types of spells. And this is because when there is an animated dark energy involved, which would be what we would call a demon or Apollo spirit, or any spirit that has either one, been dead but was reanimated or brought back to life through spell work, or two, a spirit that was never alive in a human body in the first place, but was conjured or summoned from a darker realm in order to work and perform a spell against someone in the earthly realm. So, a spirit that has never had a human body or form would be known as a demonic entity. A spirit that did have a human form and did live a human life, but was raised up from the dead, or would be known as a graveyard spirit or Apollo spirit. Because in the practices of Palo, Palo, this practice is a practice of reanimating dead spirits. When these types of spirits have been used in binding spells, you are not simply fighting against the person or coven who performed the spell, you are also fighting against the dark force that is animating that spell. Essentially, the dark force that has been conjured or summoned is going to be the force that is going to carry out the will of the incantation or the words that was spoken against the target over the cauldron, over the candles, over the mirror, or over whatever item was used to send the spell out. But these types of spells can also be sent to a person or attached to a person by using an item of importance that belongs to that person. This could be a physical item like clothing that they have worn, their hair, or any type of DNA from their physical body. And it can also be done by putting a picture of the person into the cauldron with the dead spirit or with the demonic entity. When it comes to the process of breaking these types of spells, it is helpful to know what type of spirit has been conjured to carry out the spell and what exactly the spell is intended to do. The intention of a spell is very broad, which means that if the intention is something like driving a person crazy or causing a person to go broke or causing a person to be sick, the spirit that has been chosen to do this assignment will do so in any way that it sees fit. And for this reason, the process of breaking the bind is going to be very, very tricky because you can find out one way or method it is intending to harm you. And once you find that way out and you begin to address that method, it will come up with yet another way to carry out the will and the mission of that spell. As I talked about in my previous video entitled How to Get Karmic Justice for Nonstop Witchcraft Attacks, I talked in that video about how every single form of spell work is approved or denied in the spirit realm. There is a process of checks and balances. There is a such thing as spiritual law and spiritual court. Usually, when we are going through heavy witchcraft attack like binding spells and facing demonic entities, it is for the larger purpose of our healing and our evolution. When dealing with this level of witchcraft attack, the point is not about you learning how to do dark magic. The point is about you learning how to evolve and transmute darkness into light. Usually, whatever demon has been summoned to carry out spell work on you is going to be a certain entity related to some wound or trauma that you need to heal. And this is usually an ancestral trauma and a trauma related to past life experiences and even current life experiences that we need to address in order for us to evolve as spirits. Anytime we are experiencing certain levels of witchcraft attack, there is something that is giving that curse legal authority. A curse without a cause cannot land. So, if there is some type of cause, open door, wound, or traumatic event that is leaving a hole or opening in your aura, your auric field, and your spirit, that is going to be the legal authority or the legal portal through which that demonic energy or entity is coming through. So the idea is to heal those traumas and those wounds and to close off your aura and your spirit. I've also talked before about how witchcraft attack is an initiation process with the universe. Usually, if you have some sort of spiritual gift, you will have to go through a sort of spiritual boot camp process of learning how the spirit world works, what type of entities are in the spirit world. Binding spells are intended to keep you stuck through three various ways. Either one, stuck in the past so that you cannot progress forward towards your destiny, towards your healing and your spiritual evolution. Or two, to keep you stuck in a low vibrational pattern, cycle, or state. As in, you are constantly in fear, you are constantly anxious, you are constantly depressed, you are constantly paranoid or untrustworthy of others. Those are low vibrational types of behaviors that automatically keeps us separate from the blessings and prosperity we are intended to have through the prophecies of our destiny. And the third way that binding spells may strive to keep someone stuck in an illusion, because binding spells are heavily about psychic attacks and emotional attacks. So the way that you think and the way that you feel. And any spell that can control the way someone thinks or feels has the power to control that person's reality, because essentially our consciousness, the way that we think about life, is what creates our reality. And so binding spells will purposely work to distort the way that you think about life, that you think about other people, and the ways that you think about yourself. This takes me to one of the most important points of this video, which is that binding spells are most commonly used for the purposes of destiny swaps. If you have someone who is trying to steal your destiny, they will perform binding spells, binding you to particular entities and spirits, all for the purposes of keeping you separate from your destiny. Because when you are detached from your destiny, then there is an open door that allows witches and warlocks and magicians to then go into that open door and pull from the energy of your destiny. Because our destiny is not a place or a destination, it is an energy. Since this type of binding magic is so very complex, I do intend to make more videos on this topic. If there is something in particular that you would like to know about binding spells, please feel free to drop that in the comments so that at our next conversation, I will be able to answer the questions that you have left for me. If this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel